Hey guys, welcome to episode 26, and boy am I excited to bring you this episode. And that's because we are going on a road trip and we're gonna visit all 5 starting locations in Knox County. We will explore what every single starting town has to offer, what are some points of interest, what are the upsides and downsides of spawning in each location. So grab some snacks and make sure to have a camera because we are going on a road trip. There are 5 default starting locations: Muldrough, Echo Creek, Riverside, Rosewood, and West Point. And each one of these towns offers something different to the player upon starting. Different challenges, different benefits. But before we hit the road, just a few words about the technicalities of today's video. You see, I was recording it using invisibility so that I could roam freely every single town at the very beginning of the game, and I wanted to be able to show you what can you expect when you actually start the game somewhere. So you will see zombies roaming the streets freely, paying no attention to me at all, but that was intentional. I wanted to give you the experience of a brand new player spawning in any of these locations. Okay, so let's get on with it and start with Echo Creek. Echo Creek is the westernmost and also the smallest of the 5 default starting locations. And you won't find here any sophisticated infrastructure, stores. It's a small town with few residential areas and a central point that consists of a diner and a gas station. The residential areas are either these trailer parks at the northern edge of the town or more traditional single and multi-story houses south of town. We reached the diner slash gas station, which is probably the most valuable spot in all of Echo Creek. And I do know that some folks did turn this diner into a permanent base location, which is probably not a bad idea because everything else in Echo Creek is mostly just dull. The definite upside of spawning in Echo Creek is that it will probably go easy on you. You should not expect massive hordes of zombies and lots of challenges getting to wherever you'd like to get. But the trade-off is you're not going to be able to loot many things. Right beside the diner there is this small warehouse over here which tends to have some basic tools inside, but it is fairly small, so don't expect miracles. There's also another one at the kind of like a western edge of the town, similar in size and probably similar in the amount of loot, but it's actually the outskirts of Echo Creek which become really interesting because we do have some interesting locations that are worth either visiting as a tourist or actually can supply us with various interesting things. Let's check them out now. Starting with this chicken farm at the eastern edge of town, which has just insane amounts of chickens. So, eggs for everyone, I guess. There's also kind of a summer school, summer camp south of town next to a small lake. Now that's a place that's, kind of interesting if you wanna go for a more rural lifestyle, lots of fishing. But the 2 most interesting locations are actually west of town, just by the main road leading out of Echo Creek to Ekron. One is the AMZ steel mill, which we are currently visiting. A massive complex, kind of cool to, just explore. Pretty industrial. And the most interesting of them all, the famous Guns Unlimited, a massive gun shop. Now this place has enough weapons and ammo for you to form your very own Kentucky battalion and march towards Washington and take over the rule. But in order to get there, first you have to take care of the problem. And the problem is when things really started to go bad in Knox County, everybody had the same idea. I'm gonna go and grab some guns. And now Guns Unlimited is just infested with hundreds of zombies. Now look at the numbers just purely on game start, and now think about how it's going to look like 4 weeks from now when we're gonna get some respawns and we're gonna approach the peak population. Now this is not an easy thing to do, guys. Getting inside is a chore. And those of you who know me know that I am not a massive gun guy, so I've never actually cleared this place, but I will someday. Just so I can say that I did. And I think that covers Echo Creek. Let me know if you like it or not, and now let's move on to Riverside. Now I'm gonna be honest, I think Riverside is my favorite spawn location, at least from the default ones, and there are several reasons for that, which I will explain while showing you the town itself. But talking about Riverside spawn, first we need to understand that there are actually two Riversides. There is the main Riverside next to the river, and there is also the trailer park, southwest of town, next to the warehouses and storage units. You can spawn in any of the two actually, at random. We're gonna check out the trailer park first, which is, well, not ideal. You can expect a high zombie population and just purely trailers, so not much decent loot opportunities. So this is not a perfect place to spawn, but you know, sometimes life gives you lemons and you gotta deal with that. The one benefit associated with spawning here, I think, is that you are actually very close to those storage units and warehouses. So maybe you're able to find some interesting stuff inside, but we're gonna show the warehouses later. Let's get into main Riverside now. We will start exploring Riverside at the northwestern edge of town, just off the main road, which leads into the commercial area of the city. But we're definitely not walking, so let's just grab ourselves a vehicle and drive to all the interesting locations. Almost everything worth checking out in Riverside is right next to this main road. Stores, police station, gas station, restaurants, you name it, you will probably find it right next to this road. So let's take a drive and see what's there. What I really like about Riverside is the fact that you can find most of the things that I personally look for in a town. You'll find things like a post office, which is one of my favorite things to loot early in game. You will find a bookstore. There are several stores with different types of clothes. You've got food stores. You even have a store with toys. So whatever is your game, you'll probably find it in Riverside. And on top of that, most of these things are located fairly conveniently, one next to another at the main road. There's also this interesting building over there, which is called the Boat Club, and apart from the fact that it is a boat club, it also has its own library, so that's yet another location you can loot when you're looking for books or magazines. And yes, it's right next to the main road. But that's not it, that's not everything. It also has a Gigamart. So really, in terms of loot locations, bring your trailer, because you're gonna need it. And did I mention the VHS store? Yeah, it also has a VHS store, so I think I'm done talking about all the wonderful things you can find in Riverside. So I guess the only downside to Riverside if you choose to spawn here is that you will likely need to fight your way through to some of these areas, because as you can see, the number of zombies is not great, but it also is not small, so get ready to do some swinging. And what are some interesting locations near Riverside that are worth visiting? Let's start with the famous farmhouse just west of the city, which is probably one of the most recognizable bases in Build 42. Now this thing has everything you need to make a permanent long-term survival location. A full 2-story building and an extra basement if that's your thing. Lots and lots of already predetermined areas for farming or for animal care, and 2 separate sheds which you're likely to find either seeds or some farming equipment. I even found a sledgehammer in one of those, so these are usually pretty well equipped. Now guys, this is absolutely one of the prime locations for a long-term settlement, so if that's your thing, make sure to check it out. And on top of that, it's super close to that warehouse complex I was mentioning earlier, so now let's go check this out and see what kind of stuff you can find inside. And trust me, you will find a lot. I was actually able to level up multiple skills to really high levels like metalworking level 9, purely using the equipment and supplies found in one of these 2 warehouses. So trust me, this is full of really valuable tools, supplies, weapons. I mean, if you're ever gonna get here, you are not leaving empty-handed. I guarantee you that. And if you are looking for some sort of a tourist attraction near Riverside, well, there is the West Maple Country Club. That's where all the rich people go to chill out. It has a nice vibe, this lovely pool, so If you want to visit something interesting in your spare time, I would definitely check this place out. It also has pre-prepared stables, so maybe one day if we get horses in the game, this will probably be one of the places to visit in order to find horses. And yeah, it's just a cool place to see and visit. Wrapping things up for Riverside, for me, it's probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite location for Build 42. What about you guys? Do you like Riverside? Did I miss anything major and important related to this town? Let me know. And now it's time for Rosewood, one of the favorite towns of the entire Project Zomboid community. Rosewood has several default starting locations, and if you're lucky you will spawn in one of these houses just at the southeastern edge of the city. And if you were lucky and actually spawned here, well, I guess you're good. No need to go anywhere. No, I'm just kidding. Of course you gotta go somewhere, but this house that I am showing you right now is probably one of the best spawn locations in the entire Project Zomboid game. Rosewood itself is a well-organized city on the shape of a rectangle with majority of interesting locations, all clustered at the western edge, right next to the main road that leads out of the town and to the highway. We will start by checking out the Rosewood Elementary, which, as any school, does have a library, so that's a potential location for books and magazines. And it's located right next to the area where you will find probably the largest and most well-equipped houses. You know the type, the brick ones with 2 floors, a garage, and sometimes even a basement. So if you're looking for loot, this is probably the residential area that's most rich in it. We will start our drive through the city at the most recognizable location in all of Rosewood, the Rosewood Fire Department, which is known for having plenty of fire equipment and fire access and is located at the southwestern edge of town with a massive police precinct just across the street. Following the main street north, we will find all the shops and restaurants that are in Rosewood. And if we continue, we will actually reach the highway out of the city. And this is where Rosewood has some similarities to Riverside, as similarly to Riverside, all of the interesting stores like a bookstore or a clothing store are located at one main street and are all easily accessible from it. Here's a bookstore, right next to which you can find a pharmacy. There's also a Gigamart right across the street, so again, a fairly loot-rich area. Now I want to take a left turn to show you a bar/inn, which is a great source of finding glass bottles full of alcohol. And there's also an interesting building right next to it, which is called Bail Bonds, and that's going to be important because one of the most famous locations in all of Project Zomboid is not that far away from here, so we're going to check it out later. But first let me show you the Rosewood gas station just off the highway, which is a fantastic location to set up a base. Especially if you're planning on exploring Rosewood after not spawning in the city. It's right next to the highway. It does have a basement and an apartment on the first floor, so everything you need to have a permanent location used to simply explore the city of Rosewood. And what are some points of interest in the vicinity of Rosewood? I'm gonna show you two, starting with the Rosewood Car Cinema, just south of town. It's a low-key interesting place where you're not expecting to find too many zombies, but you're definitely expecting to find cars. And they will likely be in decent condition. So if you need a vehicle, you're near Rosewood, I would definitely check this place out because you might find a good set of wheels. But guys, we all know Rosewood is not known for its car cinema. It's known for the Kentucky State Prison. Now, in my recent livestream series, I decided to check this place out, and we are 4 days in. I'm using fire every single day to just burn the inhabitants of this location, and I still didn't even get through the front desk. So yeah, it's intense. It's definitely an interesting place to visit and a great place to practice your combat skills if you're ever planning on, going to Louisville and really surviving there. Doing some practice sessions in and around the Rosewood prison is probably a good idea because it will teach you to manage large groups of zombies, it will teach you to manage your fatigue, and many other things. I mean, just look at the numbers, it's just so wild. And again, it's day 1 of the game, so no extra spawns, no nothing. So to close off Rosewood, it has never been my favorite location. I do have a love and hate relationship with this town. I actually started my adventures in the game in Rosewood, and as we all do at the very beginning, I, kept on dying, and I think I just gotten biased against it. But it does have all the quantities of a decent small-sized town with all the necessary shops, services that you can use for your advantage. So definitely a location worth trying. And the upside is that everything is like right next to each other, so there isn't much walking, as opposed to Muldrough, which we're gonna check out now. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I used to enjoy Muldrough a lot. It was actually the first town that I've managed to survive for longer than a month, and the first location I've managed to build a self-sustainable long-term base. So it does have a sentiment, at least for me. But guys, this town is just a nightmare. It's as long as the queue to the bathroom at the Kentucky State Music Festival. And okay, fine, it does have pretty much everything you need, but getting to these points is just such a pain in the... Not gonna finish that, you know what I mean. Okay, so we're gonna start exploring this tapeworm of a town at the very northern edge of it, just outside the famous Smokies Saloon and Restaurant. And okay, granted, just like any other town in Knox County, all of the interesting things are located right next to the main road, but why does it have to be so long? Who came up with this idea? Yeah, I know, this town actually does exist in real life, and yes, it does look like this in real life. It's just your sausage of a town. Anyway, let's make sense again. So we are passing right next to a pretty decent warehouse where you can find lots of tools and building supplies, and right next to it there is a storage unit. So this northern part of town, you're likely to find tools, generators, all kinds of different stuff required for crafting. Now once we continue down this road and keep heading south, we're gonna pass a lot of different things like restaurants. There's gonna be a gas station along the way, but I want to get to the southern edge of town because there are some interesting things there I want to show you. And as you can probably see on this sped up video, this place is actually quite full of zombies, so this is definitely not a walk in the park. It's gonna take some effort to clear out the main street and reach all of these points of interest. I wanted to reach this part of Muldrough specifically because it does have interesting things to show you, like the bookstore, which is located right in this store complex, and a large police precinct just around the corner. You are likely to find lots of ammo and probably also a fairly high quality vehicle, but again, you're gonna have to fight your way through to get there. Continuing south from here, first we will pass by the VHS store, which is right over there on the right, and eventually reach the southern gas station of Muldrough. If you are at the southern edge of Muldrough, at this gas station, there is one really cool location you might want to visit very close to it, and that's the Rusty Rifle, which received a massive overhaul in Build 42. What used to be a small saloon is now a whole complex, a bar and a motel. And frankly, it's actually not a bad idea to settle in this area because you do have access to gas. The whole area is fenced, so that provides at least some protection. And as you can see, some of the neighbors have their own animals, so you can scoop them up and use them for your purposes. And not far from here, you will find a small warehouse complex, which is likely to supply you with all the necessary tools and materials just like any other typical warehouse, and also a pretty sizable storage unit. And as you know, these things are great for finding generators, furniture, and all kinds of different stuff. And finally, right in the middle of Muldrough, there is a place you actually might recognize from one of my recent videos related to first aid. The Cortman Medical, one of the favorite places for a long-term settlement in Muldrough. Check it out! And are there any interesting locations around Muldrough? Well, there's the train yard where you might find some railway spikes, and maybe some tools if you're really desperate for them and haven't found them anywhere else. There's also the McCoy logging where, well, if you need planks and wood, and for some reason you're allergic to chopping down trees, you might want to go there and just pick up tens if not hundreds of planks. But there is one area I wanted to show you directly, and that is this warehouse complex, which is just north of the highway leading from Muldrough to Rosewood. And what you'll find there is indeed some warehouses full of stuff with no value at all, but there is also this little warehouse which I'm showing you right now, and this is a good location to pick up tools, construction equipment, these kinds of things. So is Muldrough a good starting location? I don't know. I think it's a bit too overstretched, and that makes it tedious. But it does have everything needed to fully function and be successful in Project Zomboid, so it's up to you. Do you have any tips for new players? Do you like Muldrough? Let me know in the comments. There is one final city to talk about, and this time we're heading north. Final checkpoint before the road to Louisville. West Point. Okay, I'll start by admitting that this is the town that I probably know the least about, as I very rarely head up north in Knox County, but West Point does have some similarities to previous cities we visited, with one exception. The commercial area is not glued to one street, but rather spread out in a small central area. And just like in most of the other cities we've visited, you will find pretty much everything you need there. Bookstores, VHS, gas station, clothing, food, supplies, you name it. And now that I think of it, West Point actually does not have a VHS store, so scratch that one off your list, but beyond that it has pretty much everything. What makes West Point different from other towns, however, is that it's actually quite crowded. So you're gonna need some skills if you want to live here and not die very fast. This is definitely not a place I would recommend for your first playthrough. The last two interesting locations I wanted to show you guys in West Point are actually both a little bit outside of the main city center. One is situated slightly to the south, just off the road that leads towards the highway, and that is again a warehouse along with a storage unit. So pretty much the same story as in all other cities. You can find lots of useful tools and materials. There's also a gas station right next to the intersection, so if you're ever in the need of gas, you can pick it up there. But I think my favorite spot in all of West Point is just east of town. So when you take the highway that bypasses the town on the eastern side and heads towards Louisville, you will find a huge auto parts shop right next to the road leading to the city. And this place is really big. It has this large shopping area. It also has a garage in the back and a fairly large storage house that usually houses lots of car parts. So whenever you're in need of replacement batteries, upgrade mufflers, and you're in the vicinity of West Point, well, I would suggest you head there, to the American Tire, my go-to place for anything car related. And I just sounded like a freaking commercial, guys, sorry about that. Is there anything else interesting beyond the things I've shown you? Well, in my honest opinion, no. I think the most interesting thing about West Point is that it's just off Louisville. You are kind of bound to visit it if you're ever planning on going to Louisville. But for a starting location, I personally avoid it. It's just not my taste. But if you think I'm wrong, if you think that this is actually a great place to start your game, let me know why. I'm interested. Maybe there is something about West Point that I miss. One thing's for sure, this train wagon is a really nice way of showing where you are. Guys, in today's episode we bunny hopped across 5 different cities all over Knox County. And I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit tired right now. Bottom line is, every single location is a good location. It all depends on the way that you play the game. It also depends a little bit on your luck and many other things. What's most important is to enjoy the game and take advantage of whatever Knox County gives you. If you want to stay up to date or even have influence on what's gonna show on this channel in the future, make sure to hop onto my Discord. We have a small but a vibrant community. And I want to close off by saying thank you for all the support you guys are showing me under every video I post. For today, that's everything, and as always guys, I'm Gertrix. Cheers!